On this episode of In an Instant, we are rolling on one of the most perplexing and unexpected cameras released in the last 100 years. Maybe ever? The Instax Mini Evo Cinema is here, a video-centric instant camera that somehow now exists. And in lieu of that, we gotta talk about it. I'm recording the intro on the camera I'm reviewing in this episode. How crazy is that? I can't normally do that because most I'm reviewing instant film cameras. They don't normally have video, so pretty cool, I guess.
The kind of photography that would become part of the human being. Press a button and have the picture.
Welcome to In an Instant. My name is Ben, and today we're talking about the Instax Mini Evo Cinema, a confounding release from FujiFilm that exactly nobody asked for, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think anyone on planet Earth and possibly beyond expected a dedicated video camera to emerge from the Instax line in 2026. And yet, here we are with this gorgeous work of man that turned heads 360 degrees when it first leaked out of Japan, a level of head rotation not typically advisable for human beings. Nearly 50 years ago on the dot, Polaroid first debuted the Polavision Instant Motion Picture System, a product so calamitous and unsuccessful that it led to the ousting of Polaroid's founder and demigod, Edwin Herbert Land. At the time, it was lampooned for its outdated technology, in a time when superior consumer video options had already hit the market. Half a century later, Polaroid's rival Fujifilm has birthed a similarly antiquated piece of technology. A camera with a 5-megapixel sensor in a world where cell phones have nearly 10 times that pixel power. A camera that delivers deliberately low-resolution digital picture at a time when people obsess about image quality and sharpness. And for some reason, it's also an instant camera, printing pictures with QR codes that represent still frames from the videos you record, which can then be scanned to view its video counterpart. These videos from the Evo Cine are a maximum of 15 seconds and are processed with a variety of effects you can summon with its eye-catching Eras dial, which portrays aesthetics that reference the 1930s up through 2020. This camera may be an instance of Fujifilm asking, could we do this, rather than should we do this? But alas, I've had an undeniably joyous time getting to know the camera, and as someone who works in video production as well as photography, it has proven to be a unique accessory that provides mostly good vibes in a society that isn't exactly vibing so much right now. Before we get into deeper functionality, let's take a look at the Eras dial and what footage looks like out of the Evo Cine. From 1930 to 2020, the camera bakes a series of video effects into the files, which vary in color, grain, special effects, and also optional frames that essentially border the image with a look that matches the era. The severity of these effects can be adjusted down or up using a dial around the lens. The effects also have matching sound beds that replicate the whirring of film or tape artifacts.
You gotta make sure to like and subscribe, okay?
Let's start with 1930, a decade where nothing bad happened except the collapse of the global economy, human rights disasters, World War II. Besides that, it was fine. The 1930s look is black and white, grainy, and has pops of dust and scratches. The frame option is a crosshair, to remind you of the war you deserted. The sound is a Super 8 style satisfying buzz of film passing through a camera.
Welcome to In an Instant. My name is Ben. Just kidding.
The 1940s, for some reason, is in color. I suppose because color was becoming more widely available in this decade, though I wouldn't normally associate the 1940s with this look. It features a jumbling grain and a warm color palette. The sound effect is a slightly higher pitched Super 8 whir.
Welcome to In an Instant. My name is not Ben. What am I doing in the 40s? Let me know!
The 50s is back to black and white, simulating the look of broadcast television with slit lines across the picture and a soft rounded border. Something particularly cool about this effect and others is that it's fairly responsive. It isn't just a looped digital overlay. When you move the camera quickly up or down, the feed effect jumbles and glitches. I think that's pretty swell. I think that's pretty neat. I like that attention to detail. I appreciate that. And the audio mimics the compression of vintage sound.
Welcome to In an Instant. My name is Birgit.
1960 returns us to color and provides a Super 8 style border. This mode is pretty similar to the look of the 40s, but with a more interesting frame, I think.
Welcome to In an Instant. My name is in fact not Ben, and I'm Sissi. Hello!
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 1970 is back to simulating a television broadcast, with a different border and an image now in color. Scan lines skip through the soft picture, and if you crank the effect up, you can see a strong video noise effect, with cleaner audio than the 50s version.
Welcome to In an Instant. My name is Ben.
1980 features what I think is an early tape simulation, with a date stamp feature and a much cooler color palette than the 60s Super 8 look. I can't really hear any audio effects on this one.
Welcome to In an Instant. Hopefully I don't die, but I haven't died in 40 years, and I look the same. So welcome. My name is Ben.
1990 I think is one of the most fun options, a VHS conversion with a graphic overlay to match. The shutter button makes a little beep instead of the trigger of a motion picture film camera. Great for people who love beeps and the sound beep.
Welcome to In an Instant. My name is Birgit, and Benny Bags is behind the camera.
2000 is where the camera leans into its already lo-fi digital look, with very compressed audio and a digicam overlay.
And we survived Y2K.
Oh my gosh, we survived! Do we look sharper now?
2010 is naturally a cleaner image and a simulation of a YouTube live border as its frame option. This frame I think makes the least sense as something you'd want baked in. It's kind of oddly static and unresponsive.
Welcome to In an Instant.
Our name is Ben.
2020 is basically the cleanest output of the 5 megapixel CMOS sensor, with the adjustment dial basically adding contrast or saturation. The overlay is a mobile phone style rule of thirds, not really something I'd want rendered into the footage itself.
Welcome to In
And
Instant.
my name is not Ben.
My name is Sissi.
Wow.
This is Birgit.
And I'm Barack Obama.
There's also a buried high quality version of the 2020 mode to get the best image quality possible, if that's what you're trying to do with this camera, which I can't imagine many people are. I will say with utmost sincerity that of every camera I've ever reviewed on this channel, this is the one that demands to be shared the most. It's really not that much fun to use alone. So I met up with some homelingtons of film to see what they would make of this Instax oddity.
I think it's fun to play around with. My main critique thing is that it takes too long to change to the next era when you switch it. I want to like look through it really quick and then pick one, and it takes so long.
Although I like the renaissance of like fun things coming back. You know, like the cell phone back in the day are like different shapes and size and like function. I feel like Fuji is leading that. So maybe in 20 years we'll come back and be like, this is such a cool thing that no one bought, or a lot of people bought.
What I like is the idea of experimenting with ways to combine those two worlds. I think that's the right mindset. I don't think we have reached the like perfect hybrid yet, but I like that we're figuring that out.
Yeah, we're dancing around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I question the fact that this is an Instax camera at all. Like, if this was just a video camera,
Yeah.
and it was kind of at a lower price point, I feel like it would make a little more sense.
Yeah. See, the thing about the QR code making a photo coming to life, or like live photo, had been in the talk for years. Like, this is just someone actually done it.
The fact that that it's not possible to use the video camera without this aspect, basically, because you can't get to your footage, right?
Oh, is that
It's kind of paywalled behind the film, so you can't download the footage unless you print it.
So that's kind of like a weird.
It's forcing people to have the physical
Yes.
piece, and then also to be mindful of what to print, what to really store, right? Like, it's good for the training of like.
That's a positive perspective on it.
Right? If you didn't save it, like the file, what is this hosting on? And can this website be outed one day that you have you can no longer access?
But you can download it.
Right. But if you didn't,
yeah.
and if you only had that, okay, let's say.
Yeah.
100 years later, someone found this Polaroid, and they were like, "This is ancient ass."
Right. That's my
artifact.
grandma's video that she filmed with her friend.
Yeah, my grandma's QR code.
Yeah.
And then where does the QR code lead?
That is a good point.
That is a good question. I like the idea of this being the archiving way, the analog way. And I guess I will say now I understand that if the photo is not for the photo's sake, it doesn't have to be that good. It's just, like you said, a thumbnail for your archive. For that, okay, so you're not using it to get photos out of it. It's really just for the video.
Although it could be, because there's a stills mode and everything.
Yes, but it's not good enough for any photo that I enjoy.
They should hire us for like cover
Yeah,
shoot.
I mean, they should have us looking at this stuff before they actually make it. Okay, the fact that it makes a little reel is really cool. I haven't been using the camera like that.
That's my
Yeah.
90s sitcom intro.
Oh my god.
Thanks to Sissi, Birgit, and Henry for helping with that segment. I love you and I'm in love with you. Let's dive into the functionality of how this thing really works once you've gotten your clips recorded. Out of the box, the camera has a sort of devastating workflow if you want to pull the footage onto your mobile device. Instead of simply syncing to the app and letting you download the file straight away, the content is held hostage with no way to rip them directly unless you first print a still frame with a QR code. This then releases a software encoded barrier, allowing you to download them with an Instax frame built into the file. This is solely designed to encourage the user to buy Instax Mini Film and then burn one frame per video. There is a reality maybe where collecting these QR coded images makes sense to some people as like a physical collection of video thumbnails you can scan and watch, but that doesn't really appeal to me that much personally. While seemingly a dire flaw, there is a very easy workaround that FujiFilm thankfully built into the camera, and that is a micro SD card slot. A 32GB micro SD costs no more than $15, and it stores the files themselves, circumventing the need to use the app or the film component at all. This, in my opinion, is the saving grace for the Evo Cine, as using software to brick a camera's functionality is never my cup of tea, which I actually recently started drinking. I recently started drinking tea. Shout out to tea. I'm sort of coming around to you. Sort of. You can even get a USB-C SD card adapter that can plug right into your phone, and voila, you've got your footage. And despite the quirks here, I actually think these clips are pretty cool and more fun in certain circumstances than just rolling video on your phone and having filters on Instagram or something. As a standalone video camera, it's a novel way to capture life. The 15-second time limit is seemingly arbitrary and not particularly fortunate, but I haven't found myself needing to roll for much longer than that on a single clip. Especially using the mindset of a Super 8 camera, for example, where the whir of film may as well be the whir of money disappearing through the film chamber. But here, it's more a gentle reminder to have some intentionality with how you shoot. The Cine has more than a couple welcomed features on board, including a stills mode with flash, and a continuous light for video, which I think is a great feature they easily could have left out, but thankfully adds even more charm to filming in low light and gives you a vintage on-camera light effect. Having come to appreciate the tactile winding dials from the OG Evo and the similarly AI-generated looking wide Evo, the print crank on this camera is also satisfying if you ever choose to use it. It has a zoom feature, which sadly isn't continuous, instead jumping in steps, kind of a miss as having smooth zooms in and out would match a lot of the vibes of the eras provided. Exposure compensation does what it says, and is also great to have, as something like snow can trick the meter into thinking it's much brighter out than it actually is. So that helps for certain scenes like this or backlit compositions. The software on the camera is pretty slow, and I have experienced freezing. But it's important to note I'm using a beta version of the camera and have installed multiple over-air updates since getting my hands on it, with encouraging improvements to performance. If it does freeze up, a pin-sized reset button is accessible next to the SD card slot, which has saved my adult male ass a couple times, and you know my adult male ass needs saving sometimes. The camera includes a hand grip extension that I think is pretty ergonomically essential, and overall, look, does this camera make sense? I don't know. Is it kind of awesome? I think so. Priced at over $400, mileage may vary on who would spring for something like this. Fuji provided this copy of the camera to me for review, and I'm not sure I'd otherwise fork over that much cash for a lo-fi device, given other much cheaper options exist in the Digicam category that lack the instant film component. The Instax SQ20 is a curious footnote in this conversation, as it too could record 15-second video clips, but the soundless quality was far inferior to what is offered here, and it had none of the charms of the Evo Cine's effects. Due to how overwhelmingly atypical this camera is, I reached out to In an Instant viewers on Instagram to see what you wanted to know about this oddball piece of tech. So let's head into You Asked It. Many questions were submitted. I pared it down to about 5. And as always, if you're wondering about something I didn't mention, drop a comment below. Okay, Pete Madden Jr. asks, what decade is your favorite to shoot on? And what is your favorite event from that decade? This is a great question, as I've been jumping around to test all the different eras, and there can be some decision paralysis if you don't have an idea of which you like the best and which you want to kind of go to. I personally love the 50s look for black and white, and the VHS look of the 90s. I think has some real charm to it. My favorite event of the 50s is probably the Soviets getting Sputnik up into space. And for the 90s, I gotta go with the Denver Broncos winning Super Bowl 32 against the Green Bay Packers. I was but a small boy, but it sent me into a lifetime of obsession with football. American football, the real football. I'm only kidding. Soccer's fine too. Paul Delgasso asks, why did they make this? Because someone at Fuji was smoking on that loud, respectfully. Pizarre asks, how good is the quality of the optics? This is an interesting question because it's quite hard to tell. The camera has a 1/5 inch sensor, which is the same as the stills Evo and smaller than the wide Evo. The lens is a 28mm f2 equivalent, and because of the various effects that get lopped on top of the footage, the image is typically really soft. But I think that's actually crucial for its usability and melting the small digital sensor look. In 2020 mode, you can see the footage has that crunchy early iPhone appearance. And optically, I would say it's fine, given that's what it's outputting. Yo, it's JW asks if it only shoots vertical video. Ergonomically, yes, you are clearly encouraged to use the camera in its straight up vertical orientation, and image overlays that employ text are fixed in the portrait orientation, but some effects like the TV borders look good when the camera is held awkwardly in landscape orientation, which kind of feels like holding a gun.
Hey, God, no, he turned it sideways, kill shot! That's a kill shot!
Photos by JC27 asks, how long does the battery last using both video and the printer? The camera has a built-in lithium-ion battery that charges via USB-C, and in my experience, it has a very short battery life. So much so that I would bring an external battery if I were to use this throughout a full day or on a trip. And maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration or is affected by the current cold weather, but it does feel like it depletes quickly, and I wish it had an external non-proprietary battery that you could just swap in and out. Unlike the Stills Evo and the Polaroid cameras with internal batteries, it's not something you can just leave around and then pick up any old day. You really have to charge it every time to ensure it lasts a full use. And finally, there were about 10 people who asked about ergonomics, and I'll say with the grip attachment, it really is a pleasure to hold. The whole thing weighs only about 10 ounces, so it's pretty light, but not so light as to feel flimsy or hard to hold stable, which is pretty important for recording video. It's really nicely designed as an object, and I think with the Evos, that is where Fuji is really kicking buns. They make some really slick looking cameras that feel like wholly new ideas in their execution. Software and internal limitations might make this an overall questionable camera to some people, but in the end, if you have the disposable income for a fun video accessory, it most certainly is a rockin' time that makes for a unique hobbyist camera. Now that you've seen it all, what do you think? This release has gotten a lot of attention due to the abnormality of the camera's very concept, and I think there were a lot of question marks about what it could even do. So now that y'all have seen what comes out of this camera, I'm very curious what everyone's take is. Drop a comment, I'll be down there with you to talk this one out, and thank you for watching in an instant. Go ahead and turn your Eras dial to that subscribe button, give it a doink, and stay tuned for more reviews, shoots, breakdowns, and all things instant. And yes, it took me every ounce of strength to not make a Taylor Swift Eras Tour Eras Dial reference. So for those who wouldn't have wanted me to do that, you're welcome. Bye.